Limit as z goes to 1 of z squared minus 7z plus 6 divided by the square root of z plus 8 minus 3. The first thing we're going to do is try plugging a 1 in for each of the z's. In the numerator, that'll be 1 squared minus 7 times 1 plus 6. In the denominator, that will be the square root of 1 plus 8 minus 3. In the numerator, 1 squared is 1 minus 7 times 1 is minus 7 plus 6. In the denominator, the square root of 1 plus 8 will be the square root of 9 minus 3. In the numerator, we will have a negative 6 plus 6. In the denominator, the square root of 9 is 3 minus 3. The numerator is negative 6 plus 6, that's a 0. The denominator is 3 minus 3, that's also a 0. So we have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. We will need to rework this. Since we have a root combination, a root involving the variable z, added or subtracted together with at least one other term, that's going on here in the denominator, we're going to try the root conjugate method. I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of that root combination that is found in the denominator in this problem. So I'm going to rewrite the limit. The root conjugate is the same two terms of the root combination, but opposite sign between them. Since it was a minus, we will have a plus. And we're going to multiply the numerator by this same root conjugate so that we have a form of 1, and it will not change the value just a look. So we have the limit as z goes to 1. In the numerator, those are not root conjugates, so I will not FOIL those out. You only want to FOIL out the root conjugate pairs. They are multiplying each other here in the numerator, so I will be writing them as they're multiplying each other, but I'm going to keep them factored. In the denominator, those are root conjugate pairs. I will FOIL that out. First, square root of z plus 8 times the square root of z plus 8 will give us a z plus 8. Outside, the square root of z plus 8 times a positive 3 will give us a positive 3 square root of z plus 8. Inside, negative 3 times the square root of z plus 8 will give us a negative 3 square root of z plus 8. And last, negative 3 times a positive 3 will give us a negative 9. The outside and inside terms in a root conjugate FOIL will always cancel. Equal value, opposite sign. There they are canceling. And we will also now be able to combine together the two constants that are left over there. That will be my next step. So I will have limit as z goes to 1. The numerator I'm not going to do anything with just yet. Let's just keep that exactly as is. The denominator, z plus 8, and then minus 9. The 8 minus 9 is a negative 1. So we will have z minus 1. So we've taken care of the root conjugate. We haven't yet removed the 0 over 0, but these have turned into power functions. Now the 0 in the denominator is happening because of the z minus 1. The 0 in the numerator is happening because of this expression here. If you plug a 1 for the z's there, it will give you a 0. But I cannot cancel the factors just yet. I need to further factor that trinomial quadratic that is in the numerator. So I will have limit as z goes to 1 of, and let's factor. I would expect to see a z minus 1 as one of the two factors, since it's making a 0 and z is going to a positive 1 here. I'm going to write the remaining terms now, and now let's try the trinomial factorization. We have a z and a z. We need two numbers that multiply to be a positive 6 and add to be a negative 7. It sounds like that would be a negative 1 and a negative 6. And there's the z minus 1 factor as expected. we can now cancel. Those are what are making 0 over 0. So I should no longer have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form happening. I'm left with z minus 6 times the square root of z plus 8 plus 3. We can now try plugging a 1 in for each of the z values found in here. And that will give us 1 minus 6, which is a negative 5, the square root of 1 plus 8, which is the square root of 9, and then plus 3. So we will have negative 5, square root of 9 is 3, plus 3. So we'll have a negative 5 times a 6, and negative 5 times 6 is a negative 30.